Welcome to another episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Anthony Firicano. What's up, Anthony? How you doing,
Hey,
man?
Billy. How you doing, brother? Thank you for having me. I gotta say honestly, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be on your show. I love what you do. You're a real person. You don't speak bullshit, and you walk it like you talk it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, man, and it was a pleasure to meet you, man. It was great
Right.
to be up there and hanging out in the north end of Boston. It was awesome. Like I had a
I
great
love
time.
showing you around. I love showing you around. The people that met you spoke very highly of you.
Yeah,
OG
man.
status.
Yeah, it was pretty
Much love.
dope, man. Thank you for that. So I want to get into some of your story, man. You got a really interesting story. And so you want to tell the people where you were born and raised and your name?
I live in Little Italy of Boston, better known as the North End. Small community. You could probably jog around it in 15 minutes. But in that small community, it was very tight. We were all broke. It was like kind of an Italian slum, if you will, right? We didn't have much, but whatever we had, we made the most of it. And the number one thing we had was love and looking out for each other. Back then, the women, we all lived in apartments. The women, the moms and whatnot would sweep in front of their apartment. The old ammonia, if anybody knows back in the day with the buckets, mopping the stairs. It smelled like shit, but it cleaned everything up. Always looking out for us, always hanging out their windows like this. Pillow so their arms won't get bruised. This side, cup of coffee. That side, an ashtray for a smoke. Watching what was going on. And if you did something wrong, they call up your mother or they scream at you. Hey, Anthony, I see what you do. Don't do that again. I'm going to tell your mother. You'd be like, oh, shit, I'm so sorry, whatever. But everybody
Yeah,
looked out for each other and made sure you were doing the right thing. It's like having one big, like, family. Awesome.
it was a different time, man.
It was a different time. There was an element around, and maybe some people don't like that element, but that element kept our neighborhood safe. If you had an issue, you went to these guys and you asked them, can you help me out? So and so, this and that, somebody broke into my house, whatever it was, they found a resolution one way or the other. Always looking out, protecting them. It was their neighborhood. They made money off the neighborhood.
So
They made living and they took care of the neighborhood.
did you see a lot of crime when you were coming up as a kid in the neighborhood?
Yeah, you know, I grew up, I was born in 68. So when I started like becoming a teenager, say 13, 14, you're aware of things. High school, there was killings going on. There was jockeying for positions, if you will. I remember after school, we go and check out blood and crime scenes. And we couldn't believe that, wow, we saw the guy yesterday and today he's dead. He's gone. A lot of stuff like that. I knew friends that got involved in things, friends I loved, and because of what they got involved in, they ended up killing other friends that I loved. It was you see
Yeah,
somebody one day,
yeah, they were forced. They're
they
forced to
it
do
was
it, right? I
they're in
watched
a
some of
position.
your stories, man, and they were pretty treacherous.
They're all true. That's the best thing about it. All true. That is Gennaro Angiulo had a place on Prince Street. His little his hangout. It's still there today. I actually got to go in. I wish I had a phone camera at the time, and they still have the family crest, the Angiulo family crest. That looks like Hanover Street back in the day before my time. I'd say 50s by the look of the cars. It's changed a lot since then, but the neighborhood
So I
is where it's.
I have a video in front of Jerry Angelo's hangout. I got the doghouse, right? They called it.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, the
Around the
doghouse. Yeah.
corner, around the corner from there, they have a legitimate dog house now where they watch dogs and train them. They call it the Dog Father. They have no idea how close they are. That place, I had an uncle, Johnny Sincardi was his name. I think he was number 8 in New England. And he had that as his place. And as a little boy, we would go there for Thanksgiving, this and that, pool tables, pinball machines, shit like that, things that you don't have in the home. They had there. You know what I mean? And business was being run. I didn't really know about it. I was a kid. I was just enjoying the pinball and the fucking arcade games. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that specifically. And then I see it now, and it's called the Dogfather. And I scratch my head and say, geez, I wonder if they know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had to know, man.
You don't fucking make up a name like that by coincidence,
Not just coincidence. So when you were younger, did you want to get into acting?
I always did. I love movies, kind of weird like that. I mean, yeah, sure. I like horror movies and shit like that, right? We all did as kids. But then one day my mother took me to a movie. It was on Copley Square. It was a nice theater. It was kind of like an independent theater. They had Raging Bull. So I'm like, Ma, I don't want to go see this. It's a black and white film. Like, there's no monsters in it. There's no, like, shit like that. And when I saw it, I swear to God, it made such an impact on me. I watched it, like, and that's when I got turned on to Robert De Niro. Can you believe this guy gained 70 pounds for that role? And so what he did was he gained the weight first, filmed the late scenes, and then got in shape, boxing shape, for the rest of the film. He didn't want to get in shape first and then gain weight. So he just let himself go. And the rumor is Martin Scorsese's mom, who's in a lot of his films, made lasagna, meatballs, sausages, pasta, eggplant, whatever it was.
Yeah,
bread,
bulked him up.
Yeah.
Bulked him up.
Here you go, Bobby. Here you go, pal. Till he got to be 70 pounds heavier than But that really made the way the film, it really affected me. As an 11-year-old, really, I was enthralled by it. And Martin Scorsese. After that, I started looking at movies like Mean Streets. Goodfellas obviously came out later on, but I've just been hooked ever since. I love the films, and I got a chance to be in some things. And let me tell you this about life: I've never done something I loved. Did something I liked, but it was always about the money, right? And then when I did films, one film in small parts and others, I could be there all day. I loved it. It was something I loved. I got high off of it. After I filmed the scene, I'd be up all night. I can't believe I'm in this position. And that's when I knew I really loved the whole film game. I've always been a fan, always been a student, and now I get to have a part in the movie.
You're in a pretty major production, right?
Yeah.
How to Rob.
Yeah, we had it on Independent Film Festival of Boston, which won the Best Fans Choice Award, which is great. There was a number of films. It was an 8-day procession of films, one after another, and we got one of the big picks. Yeah, you can see one right there. There's that little click right there, that IFF Boston. And so it's going to be streaming soon, and we're going to do it one day in theaters, in a local theater in Boston, so people from Boston can't see it as well. It's going to be a hit. Peter Horgan directed it. Young man Janaza Uche and Joshua Koopman play the leads. Growing up, kids that became friends, looking out for each other, they became thieves, master thieves, and then they stepped on the wrong toes, and people from the North End, hitmen, came over to take care of them.
Yeah, they robbed the wrong place, right?
Guess they didn't know how to rob. You know what I mean? Not correctly.
So they come to you for help, right?
Yeah,
that's the premise that I got from it. Like they come to you for help because they robbed the wrong thing.
I don't want people to think I'm walking around with a 9 in my pocket, but that's a shot from the film. You know what I mean? They took some really good shots for me, just so I'd have them, for my life.
What's this picture from, man? You said that you were in a casino, right?
Look, I went to a wedding in Saratoga, so after the wedding, that's why I'm looking so sharp, if you will. We walked around, and my friend gave me a little tour. And that is the first gambling, illegal, obviously. I think it was in the 30s, and it's run by, guess who? Lucky Luciano and Maya Lansky. It's still there to this day. It's unbelievable. I had to take a picture, and I had to have a stogie in my mouth, old school style. And that's what that
Hell yeah, man. That's a dope picture.
Yeah, it was badass. Great time I had there.
Yeah,
my cameraman is from Saratoga. Got to stay with his mom, and we went to his brother Giano's wedding. Sean deserved a lot of credit. If you look at the North End stories that I do on YouTube, it started out, during COVID, right? Losing my mind. I'm home every fucking day and going bananas. Nobody's around. The whole city was shut down. So I walked around, and I went by the cemetery, and I said, fuck this. Got the phone and went bang, episode 1, the cemetery. And we were talking, cemetery is a place where they bury people, but we played in it.
And that's where they say that's where the Grant's tomb, Grant's tomb is, right?
Staxx, there are tombs there. I should have put them on that first episode from 1600s. I mean, you're talking about wow. I mean, the bodies are probably disintegrated at this point, but just imagine. And there's tunnels underneath there. Little escape routes back in those days that smuggle weapons. You know what I mean? From ships. Yeah. Ships would land to port. They'd use the tunnels to smuggle goods. They didn't want to get taxed by England. Think about how crazy that is. They found swords and stuff like that from back in the day when we broke in. I wasn't a part of it. Yeah.
You said you found a bunch of swords and all that?
friends of mine got in there. There's always a way. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you're a kid, you figure shit out, no matter what it is. And we got into like they used to have these big tombs that were like pyramid types with metal doors on them. And I guess somebody pried it open, went down it, and they found like memorabilia from back in the Revolutionary days. Fucked up.
Yo, go get your Chattin with Staxx cup.
Oh, you know I will, baby. And I'm gonna send you some not that shades. I'm getting them made up. NES on the side.
That would be dope. I'll definitely rock them, man. Shout out to my Rats Exposed, man. Thank you for watching my show. Appreciate you, man. Montauk, what's good with you? Joe Della, what's up, man? How have you been? You know Staxx is back, man. I'm dropping these interviews. I'm be bringing you a lot of content. So I got a lot of footage up there at that at the cemetery. That cemetery was creepy, man.
You should have seen it at night.
Oh, I seen it at night, man. I was up there at night.
Let me give you a quick how it was. So there's a hangouts. It's a cemetery, but people hung up there on Grant's tomb. It's a big tomb, flat. You could sit on it, lay on it, fuck on it. I mean, I'm sure people did all kinds of shit on it. But as young kids, it was like, do you have the balls? Because you would go from one side of this street, cut through the cemetery, and come to another side of the street, okay? But it's a good distance, and it's dark, and there were no lamps. The lights around back then, people would break them so they could stay in the dark. And I remember I tried, they challenged me. They did. Can you do it? I said, yeah, I got balls. I'm going to do it. I climbed the fence. I'm going through, and then you look. By Grant's tomb, you see little lit up cigarettes, and you know there's some people there, and then they would fucking get the fuck out of here, get me over here, and you're like, fuck you, and they were just fucking with us. They weren't gonna hurt people we knew, but they just wanted to scare us because we were easily scared at the age of 12, 13, you know? Funny stuff like that. It was just a wild neighborhood.
For you to run all the way through it, right? For you to run all the way through the cemetery?
On the opposite side. So if you're by like the Slide Park or China Street, instead of going all the way around the cemetery, you could just cut right across and boom, you're back in right where you live. But you know, it was always a risk to take. You never know. Maybe they want to rob you. If I had a few bucks, if I was 18, 19, who knows? They might have rolled me. You know, guys were getting high back then.
Here, I got a picture of the cemetery. I got a couple pictures of the cemetery. It's pretty. It's one of the oldest cemeteries in the country. This is not counting, you know, Indian burial grounds and all that type of stuff. Oh. But this is one of the oldest in the country.
And it's connected to the old North Church, which has catacombs underneath it. Wild.
Yeah, it's got skeletons under there and everything, right?
I can only imagine. You know what I mean? The artifacts that must be, not that you would ever, dig up a gravesite, but there it is right there. And that's the way it was. Grant Tomb's right up there to the left. And that's where you would cut across. You know, I think Grant Tomb is right up to the left. It's like a little square, like that's the Grant's Tomb that you could sit on and kind of hang out, believe it or not. We used to have, in the trees, they used to have chestnuts. Look at that. That's badass.
See that skull, man? That's some old school shit. That's some really old school shit.
Wings, though. Staxx, there's wings. So
yeah,
you die, you become an angel, I guess, and you go up to heaven, God willing.
Here's a picture of the North End from far away. This is a whole picture of the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, that's the water, the Boston Harbor behind it. That steeple right, the prominent steeple, that's the old North Church.
So what are some of the crazy things that you've seen growing up there?
Oh, man. I mean, even at a young age, you get into fights with people. The North End was sealed. It was one way in, one way out back then. You would go to the train. If you lived from out of town, you'd come through this little tunnel, and it said North End on it. All right? And once you got through, you were in our territory. If you did the wrong thing, there was only one way out, and you better have done the right thing, or else you weren't going to make it. Here's a funny story. I thought it was a little different. It's, I can fight and all that shit, but I also have heart. I don't hurt people unless I have to. You know what I mean? I'm not I'm not a bully. I'm not full of shit guy. So, for instance, I'm in high school, freshman year, we're playing football. And I got into a beef with a kid. And during school, you go from one class to the other, so you'd see each other. I had a bunch of books in my hand. The kid fucking sucker punches me. Yeah. We get into a little form around. Him and another kid join in and pull the two of them around. We get suspended for 3 days. But what they did was they had us in the same room. So every time the dean of students would walk out, I'd give him a look, I'm going to fucking get you. Don't think this is over. You're fucking, dead, but not dead in that sense. And then I got an opportunity. He went out the back door one night after school, and they were like, "Hey, the kid's going." I ran after him. A crowd gathered. We got to the underpass, the North End underpass. We passed it, and they all circled us. We were like going to square off. And I remember there was a friend of mine, Charlie. He's an older classman, upper classman. He's coming by. The kid's like, "They're going to kill me. This kid's going to beat me up. Help me up." And Charlie looked at me. He knew me. Nothing I could do. And he just went to the train. And I seen the fear in his face. Billy, I was like, all this crowd was around. I wasn't looking to whack the kid for entertainment. I didn't want, how the crowd, they want you to do things so they can watch.
Yeah, they're trying to egg you on to do it, right?
I looked in that kid's face, and it's just a terror. And I was only 14. I said, "Forget it. We'll do this some other time." And I let him go. And I knew I was different.
Like, that's enough. I scared him enough.
Yeah, bad because he never came back to school. I swear on my grandson, he never came back to school. He quit. But I was never going to hurt him after that. I just felt like you said, that was enough.
Yeah, he was probably terrified, man.
Billy, people around, you had people like me that were tough with their hands. And you had people that were tough with their hands, but they weren't afraid to stab you or kick you in the teeth. They would go the extra mile. I remember we got into a fight. A bunch of kids came in, did something stupid. We chased them out. We were kind of beating them up around the North Station area. And the kids on the floor, a few of them ran, and one of my friends started poking them with a knife. And I was like, "Shit, man, that's not necessary. That shit." The kid was down and out. I think he poked him 2 or 3 times and took off. So I was never like that. And when I saw it, it bothered me. You know what I mean?
This dude got murdered right down the street from me, man. He just got killed last night.
Yeah. There's a lot of, listen, the gun isn't my thing. The weakest man in the world can end up killing me just because he has a pistol.
Yeah, bunch of punks, man. Punks. Yeah, only punks carry guns, man. Try to act tough with a gun. Some pussy shit.
Staxx, it's like, if you're afraid to fight with your hands, if you beat me, hey, good enough. Shake hands. It's over. I'm not going to keep coming back. But other kids, forget it. You fight them, you win, then they bat you, then you stab them, and then they shoot you, you're dead. It never ends.
It's just how it is. Nowadays, it's just not like it used to be, man. You can't fight somebody now.
There's no honor. There's no balls. There's no, letting something go. People just want to go till somebody dies. And they're not that small now. So if you fought somebody, you saw them every fucking day. Every single day.
Yeah, especially like you're a young kid, right? So your parents make you go to the store or something, and you gotta run into these people.
Now, keep in mind, we're poor, so we had a public pool. It was for the North End. It was just for the North End. So in the summertime, you go there and you swam, and you've seen everybody, like a watering hole. You just congregate there. It may not have known your name, knew your face. The North End, like I said, is like a circle, and in the middle is Hanover Street. I grew up on that side. As I got older, I met kids on that side. Knew them my whole life, but didn't know them. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I know his face, and all of a sudden, you get to know their name, you become their friends. It was that weird, There's so many things. I remember. Yeah.
When we were together up there in the North End, Paulie was saying how you guys used to have to go to this bathhouse.
Yeah.
To take showers.
Oh, yeah. There was the showers in there. They had a weight room at one point, basketball gym up top, and they had like little games and shit like that to play in the bottom. Like it was like an after-school thing. You know what I mean? Keep the kids out of the street. But like me, Paul Tanzo, a friend of mine, we used to play Dungeons and Dragons up there. You know what I mean? And he was a dungeon master. Talk about storytelling. He would just ad-lib the whole fucking story. And if you were fucking around, he'd like, stop talking. People are gonna hear you. It's supposed to be like a real world. If you're in a cave trying to hide and you're over there fucking around, he'd say all of a sudden you get hit by a fucking rock off the head for like 3 hit points of damage. You're like, fucking Paul, what the I told you to shut the fuck up. He was the boss. He ran the show, People say like games like that cause you to do violence. That's not true. I watched horror movies, all that shit growing up. I never hurt anybody.
Remember, you guys were telling me a story about with the it was a percussion cap gun, right?
Oh, Paul was very good with his mind, very smart kid. I know one. I give you a couple. You could buy a hand grenade, not a real hand grenade, just it's the outer housing of it, right? Like wasn't meant for. He fucking filled this motherfucker up with I don't know where you got gunpowder, wick, this and that, and it was like they would light it and boom, and all the shrapnel would go flying. Fucking crazy. One time, because I loved westerns, we saw Josie Wales, Clint Eastwood, and there's a gun he had. And I was like, wow, I love that. So he went to a store. Service Merchandise was the store. He recently called. I couldn't think of the name. And he bought a replica. And Paul's so good, man. He fucking fixed it. He put a hammer on it, did the trigger and whatnot, made sure it was operational, and he put little musket balls in this motherfucker. It was a 6-shooter. And then he sealed it off with the gunpowder and paper. And he gave it to me. He said, now be careful now. It's gunpowder and musket balls. When you pull that trigger, there's going to be flame shooting out this motherfucker.
Would it have percussion caps on the end?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was. I was young. I just knew that this fucking thing, you better put it far away and be prepared for flames to shoot out. But I didn't have the balls to do it. That's with a friend of mine, Anthony Gelati, who is an acting teacher now. Anthony Gelati Acting Studios out in California. Great friend of mine. He was like, fuck this, give me, I'll do it. We're down the pool where they have basketball courts. And he handed the backboard. And to his credit, he rattled off all 6 fucking shots. And there were like 3 feet of flame shooting out every time. Boom, boom,
and
boom.
I got the video of Anthony telling me that story right in the spot where it happened. So I'm going to be dropping that video pretty soon. I guess I got to edit a bunch of videos. I have so many videos from the last, 5 months from me traveling all over the country. And I just haven't had time to put them all together, but I'll get them out to you guys so you can see them. We had a great time that night, man. Walking all over the North End, going in the church.
You know what was nice about that we got to see people that you don't see a lot of North End. I'm like a dinosaur, let's put it that way. I'm an ancient relic. Soon I'll be the last of the Mohicans, but there's still a few of us around. Yeah. It was nice. We bumped into a few people. We had the conversation. I love the way you filmed it. You're talking to your audience and you're letting us do our thing. They can hear some of the conversation, which is just kind of being natural. Really well done. I was really impressed with the way your style is, man.
Yeah, it's a little different. I tried to do it different than just a straight on video. But I'm gonna be up at that feast, man. I'm coming up to the feast.
The Feast of San Antonio. That's my feast. It's the Fisherman's, the last 2 Fisherman's Feast for all the Italian fishermen back in the day, and then they have the Feast of St. Anthony, which is my family's feast. And my grandmother come from Sicily, and she's really religious. So they give you little ribbons at the end of the feast. You pin, then they give you a fresh one, and all year you put money on it. $1 here, $1 there. By the end of the year, when the feast came back around, the band, the saint, would come into Cleveland Place where she lived, and she would give them homemade wine, a little pasta, some food, this way they can rest, fill their bellies, and they would play the music and have her pay money on the saint.
So during the year, throughout the year, you save your money and you just pan it on how much ever you want.
Yeah, so they give you a picture of the saint, your saint, in our case, St. Anthony's, and it had ribbons, white long ribbons, and they put pins, and you just put $1 on the ribbon, stick the pin in, and it stays there. Maybe a week later, you put another $1. By the end of the year, when the feast came around again, you had the whole thing full. They would have the fucking saint would be all you see is his fucking head.
Yeah, money it's got full of money everywhere. So what do they do with all that money? The church keeps the money?
I'd like to think it goes to the church, it goes to poverty and people that are hurting, you know what I mean, with charities. I'd like to think that, but I know how human beings are. Don't forget, the church is a lot of human beings that run it. There's only one Lord. And he didn't like it when he saw it in Jerusalem. Jesus snapped. What are you doing, gambling and whatnot? And he flipped tables over and was angry because they were using it in the wrong way. I'm sure people abuse it, but I'd like to think that they don't and they help people out like I would.
Yeah, man, that night it was great to be able to go inside the church and spend some time in there. You got to talk to some people, some Muslim people, right?
That was my church. And I remember it was like sophomore year. They're looking to put me in summer school. So I had to do 2 things. I had to pass with a C average at the last. I had to do a term paper. I hate reading things like that. Boring literature, that's what it was, literature. I hate that shit. But he gave me options, and one of them was Beowulf. Beowulf is it's like a old-fashioned like sword and sorcery type. He's a king, and he has to fight dragons and all. And I loved it, so I got into it, and I got an A- he gave me. Got my average up to a C. He goes, that's the first part, and the next part is to clean St. Leonard's steeple, which was fucked up as a 14-year-old. I seen the movie The Exorcist. It scared the shit out of me. So just imagine you're in this dark room, maybe a bright sunlight coming through, and you look and bang, oh my God, there's like a fucking angel or a fucking demon, and you're like, what the fuck? Did he just move? And you're all scared. So I'm sweeping like this and get the fuck out of there. In the end, I never went to summer school. I mean, no offense.
So that one church that we went to, There's
Yeah, that's the
how many
one.
churches are up there on the end?
We
How
had a
many are
lot
up?
more. There's right now Catholic churches. There's two. St. Leonard's is the one you were at, and Sacred Heart, which is St. Leonard's was attached to St. Anthony's School. I'm sorry, yeah, and St. John's was attached to St. John's School, or the Sacred Heart to St. John's School. Every school kind of had their own church. It was
I
only.
got a picture of both of them, so you can
Oh
tell
yeah,
me
that's
what
right.
one is what.
Right.
I'm
There
pretty
was
sure
also
I.
other ones. The day was huge on Endicott Street, and it's since been closed down now. And they have a like an old folks home or affordable housing for older people, and they call it La Casa Maria, and that's the House of Mary, and it's beautiful because it was St. Mary's Church that we built on.
This is that's that old one, the really old one, right?
Yeah, it's a Protestant church, I think, but they use it for weddings and whatnot. It's an old church. Also, there's the bell up there on the top that they would ring. You know,
That's the same church, I think. The same tower.
I think that's the old North Church. All right, the one.
So
that we
this
saw
is the one we were in. This is the one we were in.
St. Leonard's, beautiful. And
And
Michael,
this is the other one, right?
Yeah, yes, that's St. Stephen's. So here's the thing about St. Leonard's. Right now, the priest that runs it, his name is Michael Della Penna, and he's born and raised in North End. This kid for like 10 years traveled all around the country, the Vatican. He helped people out in Venezuela and whatnot. He spent a lot of time, and then he got back here, and he played for the home team. Now he's our lead pastor at St. Leonard's Church, and a wonderful man. And, you know, like again, priests are men. They could make mistakes. This one here is legit. He does all the right things. You know, he cares about people.
Hey, yo, Mahmoud Larsi, get your ass in the bathroom. I'll fucking throw him in the bathroom, man. You know, they're not worthy, bro. Get your ass to the motherfucking bathroom.
There's not enough room for the three of us. So what? Get in there anyway.
Have fun in there scrubbing the fucking toilet.
Sayonara, motherfucker.
Yeah. Visit the North End. Make sure you hit Brova's Bakery.
Bova's, yeah. Classic.
Bova's.
Smaller one as well. That's incredible.
So there's a coffee shop too, man. We went to a coffee shop when we were up there. This one.
I don't think. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's run by a great friend of mine, Bobby Eustace. He took it over from a Pocari brother who was a staple in the North End. He would always say, "Hey, Skid, what are you gonna have?" They had a little slush stand, homemade lemon slush. They still have that today. That place, as you see, hasn't changed. I believe it was 1918 when it was first established. Unbelievable. Still there. I did a show on with Bobby. Me and Bobby clicked. He got a great personality. I got what I have, and we just hit it off. So check that out on North End Stories if you're really interested in Pocari's coffee shop. Wonderful.
Yeah, man. So when did you start getting into doing North End Stories?
Pre-COVID, like right. I was,
yeah. So
I want to write a book. I want to do something.
You had an idea about doing it before COVID and all that happened?
Always had stories to tell. You know what I mean? We all do growing up. My neighborhood had some real crazy stories, fun stories, whatever you want to call them. Always wanted to write something, do something. And YouTube started to blow up with all these podcasts and stuff like that. So I said, hey, fuck it. Let me give it a shot. And as I said, I walked by the summertime and I went, bang, episode 1. And it's gotten bigger and better since then, you know?
Hell yeah, man.
And like I said, my friend Sean and his brother Giano, they ended up miking people up. I did my father in my family's barbershop that's in the North End, run by Richard Firicano, who was voted one of Boston's best barbers. You can check that episode. My father was an ex-gangster, you know what I mean? He did his thing. He still won't talk about shit.
Was this the episode?
That's one episode with my friend Sonny Marabella, 91 years old.
Shout out to Sonny, man.
Look at his house. He hasn't changed that house in years. You know what I mean? You can tell by the way it is. That shit not like that around no more. It was like being in a museum. So you see the bat in his hand? What happened was, we were doing the show. I said, Sonny, you got all these bats in the corner by the door. I said, what are you, fucking T-ball? I mean, you don't play baseball. Even baseball. This is it. The wrong guy comes here. Then B. I still don't.
You know, a lot of people have that.
You know what I mean? It's
I
an old
think I
school
got
thing.
one. I got baseball bats all around this motherfucker too, man.
My nephew goes, Uncle, why do you always have a baseball bat? I said, to crack people. I don't play ball. He goes, well, why don't you use like a golf club? I said, that'll fucking kill somebody. But just so you know, hold up. 4? I got one of them too. You know what I'm saying?
4.
Just saying.
Or you could turn into the Wolverine, man. How'd you get the name the Wolverine, man?
That's my thing. You know, comic books were big for me because, you know, growing up, you know, my father wasn't around so much, and, you know, you can go to the wrong group. But I used to get comic books and read them, and they taught you shit, right? And to make no mistake, I still got the fucking claws. Schnitt.
He's the real Wolverine, man. You guys ain't know.
Yeah. That's legit, man. And if I see somebody do the wrong thing, I'm trying to plug them.
You're gonna plug them right in front of everybody, man.
You see it. No, I'm coming home from, this is my mind. I'm nuts. I am coming home from work. You know, it's late at night. I just, help me. Some girl, like, some guy got a girl in the corner and snicked. And I take off. She said, oh my God, thank you. Who are you? You can call me Wolverine. And then the news say, man was found with 3 holes in his chest.
Yeah, you got his heart hanging off the end of your fucking.
And the claws will have to get thrown away, if you know what I'm saying.
Those will be at the end of the harbor.
At the bottom of the harbor, you can see that again. So yeah, go ahead, Billy. I'm sorry.
As you're growing up and your friends are getting into all the treachery of the life, did some of your friends go into that life, the mob life?
Yeah, you know, you start off young. I remember being like 8 years old. The guy calls me over, hey kid, hi, what can I do for you, sir? Give me a stack of papers. You want to make a buck? Yeah, $1. That's big money when I was a kid. Gives you $1. He says, bring this to the club around the corner on Endicott. Say, run there. They give you $1 for bringing it, and it was numbers. People were playing the numbers racket. It starts with little things like that. You don't realize it, but that's what it is. And then as you get older, you start gambling. I remember being in high school. A friend of mine, Willie, gives me a football card. I'm like, what the fuck is this? He goes, you pick 4 teams. You can put $1 on it, and you win 10 times your amount if you hit all 4. Wow, what a score. It's another way to make money for the mob, you know what I mean? And then you start calling people up. And you never go, hi, this is Anthony. They go, they give you a number, A45, in case those things are tapped. So you call up, you go, yeah, this is 845. Hey, what are you doing, 845? And if you're up money, they say something like 500 your way. And if you're down money, 500 my way. You know what I mean? It was just like that, you know? So you never knew who it was. You knew the figure, but you never could trace who the person was. Back then, it was telephones. It wasn't cell phones or shit like that.
Yeah, so they would assign you a number, and that would be your number.
And they'd have it all written down on paper that they could get rid of by the end of the season. Nobody would ever have it.
So when you were doing this, did you ever mess up the money on the ticket?
Funny, dude. I remember, gambling's like any addiction. You get a little fucked up when you're gambling, especially if you're winning, right? Money doesn't become money. When you win $5,000, it's like free money. So you start blowing it, doing whatever you want. But then you lose $5,000. You don't have the money because you spent it. I got in the hole one time. It's a real story. Like 10,000, a lot of money. In that year, I won about 25. I'd blown most of it. I was in the hole 10. I only had about 8 put aside. I'm in trouble. So what do? I doubled down on a Sunday. I picked 2 baseball games, 5 dimes, 5,000 each game. I couldn't watch them. I went with my kids. I said, this could be my last night on earth. If I lose these bets, I'm down 20 G's. And I'm not going to run, and I'm not going to fight. If I didn't come up with the money, it's my fault. If they want to do something, and most likely they wouldn't. 20,000 is a large number. They want a payment plan.
They want their money. They want their money. Right. So
yeah, so they're not gonna. But if they feel that you don't have it, and you know what I mean, you try to beat them. You might take a serious beating. If not, you might get thrown in the ocean permanently.
Have you ever seen somebody like maybe try to gamble once they owe money? They already owe money to the bookie, and they try to gamble more, and then they get caught.
That's what they do is they call another bookie up. I owe you 10,000, right? So I'm not. They don't. So you pay the 10 grand off. You're not going to bet with us. All right, I get it. So you go behind their back. You call someone else up. You start betting with them to try to make back that money. And if they get the word, forget about it. You get your head split open, and that person will never take a phone call from you again. You know what I mean? You can't double dip the shit. You know what I mean? But back to that story, I won both them fucking bets. I remember
you won both of them.
my God, I ended up winning like 1,500. That I was on like 8 or whatever I was on. I won 10. They didn't pay me. They were sick. I called the kid. I was like, hey, how you doing? His name was Moochie, is his nickname. Hey, how you doing, Moochie? He goes, oh, angry. Yeah, 1,500 your way. What? You know what I mean? They couldn't believe that they got out the hole. You know, you got lucky. You know, you can't after that. You know what I mean? You don't swim with
You're
great
like,
white
thank
sharks.
God.
Later, you're going to get bit. So I stood away. But I used to make phone calls for other bookies. Call them up. I remember one guy owed 5,000 for 5,000, and I got a number. Obviously, you don't call from your home phone. I go to a pay phone. Put my cord. He was a dentist. I call him up. It's short and sweet. This is Tony. You know who I'm calling for. I know where you work, and I know where you live. We're talking on the phone. The next time you see me, it'll be in person. Don't let that happen. Call Bobby now. And you hang up. 5 minutes later, the guy Bobby will call me. He goes, kid, what the fuck did you say? He called me, told me to come by tomorrow. He's going to give me the money. And then he would throw me $500. You make it short and sweet. You get the point. You don't threaten. You don't kill you. None of that bullshit. They know what you're going to do if you show up face to face. And that's enough. Don't let this. You know what I mean? He's soft. He's not a street kid like me or you. You know what I mean? He's not smacked in the face.
So you were around the tail end of Whitey Bulger's reign in Boston,
Yep. Yeah.
right?
And Whitey was a fair guy. Don't get me wrong. And but he was a classic rat. He was beyond that. He was working with Conley, and what they did was they wanted to put all the Italians out of business. This way, he could do whatever he wanted because don't forget they controlled the city. Whatever he got to do was through them. You know what I mean? For the most part. I mean, he had his own little area. Winter Hill were badass motherfuckers too, but they weren't like him. Look, Irish gangsters are just as good as Italian gangsters, just as tough and all that. Just like an Italian gangster will rat, well, Whitey was a rat. It goes both ways, you know what I'm saying? But he ratted in a sophisticated way with FBI. He grew up with John Connolly, best friends, and Connolly would give him the tips, and he would give them information about certain Italian establishments, and they started going down one at a time. And then he had free reign to do anything. Don't forget, not just free reign with the mob, but also free reign with the feds. The day they were ready to rat him, Connolly gave him the out. Gave him a call.
He gets a get out of jail free card. They tipped him off so that he could go on the lam too, man.
Think about how much money he had. When they found him in California, there was a hole in the wall. They broke it open. There were guns and whatnot, but there was over $300,000 in cash. That was like 16, 18 years after you were on the lam.
I know. So money. He must have been he had all cash the whole time, huh?
Dude, he must have had money all over the place, buried in spots. And he definitely didn't have it in the bank. You can't get the money in the bank. You can't do shit like that. But he might have had people all over the place that were holding money for him. And then when he went to that place, they gave him a chunk of all of it. And this place, and then he always had a nice stash. You know what I mean? He went on the land the right way, I guess you could say that too. Give him that kind of property. He was gone for so long. I don't really think they wanted to find him. And then in the end, he never said anything on the stand, and he got killed. And how did he get killed? His eyes and his tongue were cut out. What does that tell you? You saw things and you spoke about them, and you won't anymore. Eyes and tongue. It's a purpose. It's a reason.
Yeah, made a statement with him, right? Trying to make an example, so that because other people,
he rather know what he saw. What he saw, he spoke about, and that's what it means by taking their eyes.
Yeah,
it is what it is. And he got what he deserved, but he lived pretty good for a while. You know what I'm saying? Think about it.
Have you seen any other mob? Was there any other kind of like mob wars that broke out around the North End?
For us, yeah, there was a lot of shootings and stuff like that. I didn't really realize what was it. I was still young in my teens. I remember there was a young man. I won't say his name. I love the kid. I'll just say his first name, Jimmy. And I lived on Sheep Street, okay? And my mom would be up. I go to school. She'd be out the window, and she'd be, hey, Jimmy, how are you? Have a good day. As I went to school. Jimmy was like maybe 5, 7 years older than me. Just a nice kid. All of a sudden, he rose in power. I didn't see him. He's older than me, We don't hang out. But one day, we were drinking at this place we call the Flights. It's a park. And we'd go by another park and hang out after we had a little buzz. You know what I mean? And we're hanging, and this kid was a little drunk. And he was a tough kid. He was a juvie kid. He was known to hurt people with knives and whatnot. So he was a little feared. We were fighting people, but I wasn't looking to kill people. But this kid was a little crazy, so he stood away, but he hung with us. Then one day he was so drunk, or just that kind of guy, he was peeing off the curb as cars were driving by Prince Street. We're all chilling. Like, look at this fucking nuts. All of a sudden, car screeches. And this guy Jimmy come out. He was like Joe Pesci on fucking roids from like Goodfellas. And he went, "You mother!" And I never seen a kid get so scared. A tough kid now. And any one of us would have shit the bed. Don't get me wrong. He was like, "Oh, Jimmy, I'm so sorry." And Jimmy was slapping the fucking shit out of this kid. He was in a ball on the floor. His knee. Jimmy's booting him in the ass and slapping him for a reason, not hurting him like in a sense. Just teaching him he goes, "You better fucking know who you're pissing on next time you put your fucking prick on it." And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Happy to get away with his life. Jimmy was that scary. Later on, a year later or so, I guess he was moving up, but he was out of control maybe. I don't know. I didn't know personally. And I guess he stole some money and some drugs from some other guy from East Boston. And he was set up to get murdered. Supposedly he was going to bring the money and the drugs. They said they had to sit down, they were going to squash it, just return the stuff, and we'll forgive everything. He went and got the bag. People that were with him shot him in the back of the head, grabbed the bag and took off. They opened the bag, it was full of napkins. It was like a double cross going on. Yeah,
What?
You motherfucker ended up shooting him another 15 times in the face, they said. I remember going there after school, looking at the body, or the blood, I'm sorry. Police tape around it, and you could see brain, a skin or meat, like in the blood, all like, it was kind of fucked up, you know what I mean? But it was like Boys in the Hood Italian style, you know what I mean? That happened a few times. I remember playing basketball with a friend of mine, and he was a good friend of mine. He took me to a place called Chet's, which is an after-hour club when I was like 16. Me and my friend Jelani took us there. Him and another kid, Mario Red, took us to this place, and there's like all creeps and crazy fucking creatures there, if you will. I'm having a drink, this and that. He's like, "Don't talk to me, don't, because there's some like transvestites in here, and you don't know. We won't talk to any broads, nothing. We're gonna go in for a few drinks." I think they were collecting money, you know. And then we took off. So he was a good friend of mine. His name was Joe, and he was a ball player. He was like the round mound of rebound. I couldn't believe this heavy kid could play as good as he did. He was real good. He beat us, gave him a high five. Later that night, he was shot dead and murdered in the Slide Park. And the person that did it was a great friend of mine. Love him to death. The last time I saw him was at night, the day before, down that pool. We were hanging out talking about a movie, Streets of Fire. Talking about Tom Cody, "Pleased to meet you." That movie was a famous line. I never saw him again for 26 years. He was a juvenile. So he's out now. Changed man. He was a kid. You know, a kid, you're making decisions that aren't right. You know, you don't know what's going on. And it was a bad situation he was in. It was no one's reason. No one's, nobody was like to blame. It just was a bad time and a bad situation. He did his time, and now he talks and speaks about, anti-violence and whatnot. As handsome as the day I saw him. Fucking dynamite. Great kid. God bless him. And the guys that died, I pray for.
How many people from your era, from your time in the North End, how many people have like changed their life and are able to come back and be like, "I changed my life and I'm a different person," kind of like you? Is there other people who have done the same?
Yeah, you know what I mean? As you get older, you mature, right? You know what I mean? And you realize what you did to survive back then was just what it was. You did it to survive. You didn't do it for the most part out of necessity. Some people love that action. They love that kind of life. So they didn't change. Some people grew out of it. I had an opportunity. I was getting deep. I felt like I was getting deep into the shit. And I wasn't happy about it. I was never comfortable. I didn't want to go that route. Things were going on and I was getting uncomfortable with it. So this is going on a bad path. Then I had a son. It was my out. And I moved out of town for like 10 years. You know what I mean? And cleaned up my shit. Came back a new man. I had guns, machine guns. I had all kinds of shit. Got rid of everything. And just started a new life. There were a few people like that. I know another guy, he did 21 years. He was like a drug dealer, if you will. But he was a great friend of mine. He still is. I love him. Again, when people go away, right, Bill? You think 20 years, when you're 20 years old, I'll never see him again. Wow, I'm going to miss him, this and that. But then 20 years go by like this.
Yeah.
I saw him last summer. I'm talking to a friend and he's talking to him. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" Hey, look at him. He's staring at me. And I'm kind of going, "What is he looking at?" And I look at his face. I'm like, "Oh my God, fucking ditch." And I went, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." And he's out and big hug and a kiss.
That's crazy.
Changed man again. He did his time. He paid his price. I don't care what he did. He served his time and now his life is his now. Leave him alone.
Yeah, but a lot of people end up in prison. They end up in prison for the rest of their life or dead. You know,
Look,
drugs, someone
some
killing
people
you.
die. Yeah. Go ahead, Billy. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you.
No, it's all right, man. I think we got a little bit of a lag. Like, there's a lag in it. But it's all good. Um, so damn,
But
growing up with all that violence, man, all that violence.
I tell friends of mine, I say, I have like a real job setting, you know what I mean? And people that I know that are younger than me, whatever, but they didn't grow up like me. And I look at them and I said, tell me how many people you lost. How many of your friends killed or died? I have like, I can't tell you how many that I grew up with that are gone now for one reason or another. Either they're in the can or they're in the ground. They're like, oh, I don't know anybody. Or somebody, I know a kid who died, but he got hit by a car. I'm like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about dying like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's weird. And they talk about fights. Look at that fucking hand. It's like a fucking claw.
yeah. Fucking fingers are all crippled and shit.
That's like right, baby. I don't think too many people survive that right hand.
It's,
You know what I mean? And if I hit a guy and he goes,
yo,
although
shout
one guy,
out to Mike, man. What's good, Mike? Mike John.
look, if a guy goes down and he's out, the fight's over. No reason to put a boot to the kid's face or any shit like that. But one time I was at a club, Polyester, and my friend was shot at 18 and paralyzed. So I always kind of looked out for him. Not that he needed it or he asked for it. I just felt that way. And one time, I guess I went to we were at this place, Polyester. I went to the bathroom, come back. He goes, these two guys are fucking with me, with the jacket guys. I grabbed the two guys. I said, you fucking with my friend?
So he's in a wheelchair, you mean?
Yeah, and they were fucking with him. Believe it or not, people do stupid fucking things. They get a little bit of this and then they get big balls or they get stupidity. So I went up to the guy. I said, you fucking with my friend, and you never give the guy a chance to strike. The minute he went, boom, I hit him a fuck.
Oh, fuck, I lost him, man. Right at the last minute. He'll pop right back in here. Anthony's a good storyteller, man. I enjoy listening to his stories. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. And Anthony, he'll be right back. What's good with everybody, man? Damn, man, he's right in the middle of a story, and it is what it is. What's good with everybody out there? So I got some more guests coming on the show. I got a bunch of guests lined up. So hope you guys like the content I'm gonna be giving you, man. Yeah, he should pop back in, man. We've been on for about 48 minutes. I'm not in Minnesota no more, my friend. All right, bro. Can't hear you. I'm out in New York now, John. Minnesota was great, but I got other things I gotta do, man. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Damn, man. I can't hear you. I got nothing, bro. I'll call you in a minute, man. We'll try to figure it out. All right? But I'll call you in a minute. But if you guys like the story, make sure you guys hit the like button. And I'm gonna get him back on and we'll continue this interview. They disabled your Instagram the last 30 days. Yeah, I'm not in Minnesota no more. But yeah, if we could get this working, maybe we'll jump back on later on and Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you, bro. I'll send you another link. We'll jump back on later if you want to, man. It's all good, man. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. Till next time.